Hello there, everybody. Man, what a gorgeous Tuesday this is. Perfect day to sit outside. Perfect day for a Testy Tuesday. Yeah, we're going to test your knowledge of the Apostle Paul. Yep, the Apostle Paul, the Apostle to the Gentiles, he's often called. And, well, here's what we have going today. We're looking at something about the Apostle Paul in the book of Acts. Now, you can easily, if you wish, and some commentators do this, others do it a different way, you can almost divide the book of Acts in half. The first 15 chapters leading up to a council that's in Jerusalem talks about the early Christian movement that's centered mainly amongst the Jews. And then from that point on, chapters 16 through 28, you're looking mainly at the missionary journeys of the Apostle Paul. All right, so almost directly right in half. So what I want to ask you is this. Paul, in our text for this coming Sunday, is giving the largest sermon that we have recorded of him. Now, keep in mind, he wrote lots of letters, and those are much longer than this sermon. But this is a sermon that's recorded in the book of Acts, the longest one we have. And I want to know, in what city did he give that sermon? Let's see how smart you all are. I'm going to give you the names of the cities in alphabetical order. Are you ready? Was it Athens? Was it Berea? Was it Cappadocia? Or was it Damascus? All right. I'll give you those again. Athens, Berea, Cappadocia, or Damascus? Of course, the correct answer is Athens. Yeah, he was in Athens, and there's a couple neat things about this sermon that he gives. Now, remember, we probably don't have anyhow the precise words of the Apostle Paul. We probably have the gist of what he said, but it's probably close enough, all right? Because this is being recorded by the author of Luke in Luke Acts. Okay, he went into a synagogue. Let's start out that way, in Athens there, and was talking to the Jewish people there about Jesus, the Messiah, and he's the real deal, all right? But then he's invited out into the Areopagus, which is a place where there was a lot of talk and debates, and, the Greeks. Come on, you know this, right? Philosophers, and they just like to have all these debates with each other over all kind of what's the meaning of life and things like that, right? We do the same thing. Well, they were doing it. And here's what the Apostle Paul does. It's really, really cool. He kind of realizes the context that he's in. He's surrounded by people who are quite brilliant and quite learned, especially with all the Epicurean and Platonic and the Stoic philosophers. You know all that stuff, right? Come on, where's your ancient history? Get up to snuff here. And he brings all of that into his sermon. Yeah, he does. Okay, the passage that we have for this coming Sunday is Acts. It is, I have to get the precise verses here, chapter 17, verses 22 through 31. And I'm going to go to that right now. And here he is, and right off the bat, he kind of enjoins himself to the crowd by saying, hey, I went through the city and I looked carefully at all the objects of your worship, and you know what? I found on them an altar with this inscription, to an unknown God. Well, just before that, he had just said, I see you guys are really religious people. Well, I found this inscription to this unknown God. I think I know who that unknown God is. And he goes on to proclaim the gospel. So that's pretty cool. But how does he proclaim the gospel? Does he just come out and say, hey, Jesus is the one, you got to believe in him, all your other gods are nonsense? To tell you the truth, he kind of does say that in some of his letters later on. But remember, in those letters, he's writing to Christians. Here he's dealing with non-Christians. So he wants them to pay attention to him. And what does he do? He starts talking about this God who made all the heavens and the earths, and how close he is to us. Well, what he's doing, he's drawing on a lot of images that are familiar to all these people. For instance, when he talks about the unknown God, well, there's little statuettes of gods all over the place. So he said he found this one to an unknown God. Well, maybe some of those people hadn't heard about that. So, okay, well, tell us. If you know about this unknown God, tell us. So he uses that. In verse 27, he talks about how God is near to all. He said, yeah, and of course, you all know that God is near to all of us, right? Well, that actually is a philosophy that's quite ancient. It's found in Stoic beliefs. So you have that going on. Then you get to verse 28. He actually starts quoting some of the Greek poets, not prophets, poets. Epimenides in verse 28, the very first part of it. Aratus in the second part of it. You all remember that from grade school, right? Yeah, when we all studied the Greek poets. Yeah, okay, all right. Maybe we all need to get a little more up to snuff. Well, those guys back there, all these chickens, they've heard about it. They're all excited, see? But just look at it. What Paul does, he tries to move into the turf of the people, the stuff that they're familiar with, and starts there. Doesn't just kind of come in with a bombshell, boom, you guys are all a bunch of wackos, you're crazy believing in these gods. And they believed in a lot of different gods. No. He starts where they are and moves gently to the point. The point being that this unknown God has revealed himself. He is known, and he's known through this person, Jesus Christ. So it's a beautiful, beautiful passage that we have. And again, it's the longest sermon. It's really not all that long, but it's the longest one that we have recorded by Paul in the book of Acts. Okay, well, hopefully you all got the right answer, that it was Athens. Although Paul did a lot of traveling. He was in a lot of different places. But this is what we have in chapter 17 this week. All right, God's blessings with you. Get outside. Man, they all kind of went inside right now. They're laying their eggs. They were walking all around me just a minute ago, all the chickens. But they're here. They're doing their job. Hey, we better all get out there and do ours. God's blessings be with you.